In the early hours of the music industry, before global charts could predict cultural memory, a voice emerged that would quietly rewrite the rules of modern pop. This documentary explores the life, career, influence, and current relevance of Mariah Carey, tracing how a singular talent became a long-lasting force and why the world is once again paying close attention right now. This film will examine where Mariah Carey came from, how her creative identity was shaped, how her career began against difficult odds, and how sustained excellence, innovation, and resilience turned her into one of the most discussed figures in contemporary music history. It will also analyze the recent moment that has pushed her name back into daily conversation and explain why that moment carries deeper meaning than simple nostalgia. Mariah Carey was born into a family shaped by cultural contrast and instability. Her early childhood was marked by frequent changes in environment and emotional tension inside the home. Music became both refuge and language. From a very young age, she showed an unusual sensitivity to melody, pitch, and harmony. She learned to hear music structurally, not just emotionally, and this would later define her songwriting approach. Formal education was inconsistent, but creative education was constant. While attending school, she devoted most of her energy to writing poems, experimenting with lyrics, and studying vocal phrasing by listening closely to classic soul, gospel, and pop recordings. She was particularly interested in how singers used restraint rather than force, and how emotion could be communicated through subtle vocal control. Her formal studies never followed a traditional path. Instead, she invested in practice, collaboration, and persistence. After graduating, she moved into small living spaces, worked multiple jobs, and spent long nights recording demos. These early recordings were not polished, but they were distinct. They showed a rare vocal range combined with songwriting instincts that leaned toward melody-driven storytelling. The beginning of her professional career did not happen quickly. She faced repeated rejection and skepticism, particularly because she did not fit neatly into existing categories. She was not marketed as a traditional pop singer, nor as a conventional R&B artist. This ambiguity delayed acceptance, but ultimately became her advantage. When her breakthrough finally arrived, it was not built on image or controversy, but on vocal clarity and compositional strength. Early releases introduced audiences to a voice capable of both technical precision and emotional intimacy. Industry response was immediate and measurable. Sales rose quickly, radio adoption expanded, and critical attention followed. As her visibility increased, so did her control over the creative process. Unlike many artists of her era, Mariah Carey was deeply involved in songwriting and arrangement. This allowed her to evolve without abandoning her core sound. Over time, her music began to incorporate broader influences, including hip-hop, contemporary R&B, and adult pop, often blending genres before such combinations were industry standard. Major achievements accumulated steadily. Chart records, long-running singles, international recognition, and commercial milestones placed her among the most successful recording artists of her generation. Yet numbers alone do not explain her impact. Her use of vocal layering, background harmonies, and dynamic shifts influenced how pop vocals were produced for decades. Success did not insulate her from struggle. Public scrutiny intensified, and personal challenges became increasingly visible. Periods of creative exhaustion, media speculation, and professional pressure led to moments of withdrawal and reinvention. Some projects underperformed by industry standards, and public narratives briefly shifted from admiration to doubt. Rather than ending her relevance, these moments reshaped it. She began to redefine success on her own terms, focusing on catalog ownership, selective releases, and long-term audience connection. Over time, critical reassessment highlighted the durability of her work and the influence she had quietly exerted across multiple generations of artists. Now, the question many are asking is why Mariah Carey is trending right now. The current surge in attention did not begin with a new album release. Instead, it emerged through a convergence of digital behavior, media cycles, and cultural reassessment. A recent viral moment involving her catalog triggered renewed chart movement, particularly across streaming platforms. Songs released decades ago began reappearing in daily rankings, outperforming many contemporary releases. This trend accelerated through social media clips, short-form video usage, and algorithmic recommendation systems. Younger audiences, many encountering her work for the first time, began using her music as soundtracks for viral content. These clips circulated widely, introducing her vocal style to users with no prior connection to her era. At the same time, a recent public appearance and interview reframed her career narrative. Instead of focusing on past controversies, coverage emphasized authorship, vocal technique, and business independence. Media outlets highlighted how her songwriting credits and production choices positioned her as an architect rather than just a performer. The timing matters. The current cultural environment favors re-evaluation. Audiences are increasingly interested in longevity, authenticity, and creative ownership. In this context, Mariah Carey represents a model of sustained relevance without constant reinvention. Her resurgence is not driven by nostalgia alone, but by recognition of structural influence. Another factor driving the trend is seasonal chart behavior. One particular recording from her catalog has become a recurring annual phenomenon, returning to global rankings with increasing intensity each year. What was once seen as a novelty has become a case study in cultural persistence, prompting discussion across industry analysis platforms. People are talking about it now because the pattern has reached undeniable scale. Analysts, journalists, and casual listeners are noticing that her work is no longer resurfacing quietly. It is dominating metrics, reshaping chart rules, and challenging assumptions about how long music can remain commercially active. This trend matters because it reframes her career not as a closed chapter, but as an ongoing system. It highlights how strategic catalog management, cultural adaptability, and digital platforms can extend artistic relevance far beyond traditional cycles. Public reaction has been largely analytical rather than emotional. Commentary focuses on technique, influence, and foresight. Younger artists cite her as a blueprint. Industry professionals reference her as an example of long-term brand control. Media coverage has shifted from personality-driven narratives to structural evaluation. Today, Mariah Carey occupies a position that is neither retrospective nor purely contemporary. She operates within both. Her future possibilities include selective releases, continued catalog expansion, and increased recognition as a foundational figure in modern pop composition. Her long-term legacy is defined not by any single record, but by the systems she helped normalize. Vocal production standards, songwriter visibility, genre blending, and artist ownership all carry her imprint. In the end, her story is not about momentary success, but about durability. It's about how a voice, when paired with authorship and patience, can outlast trends, technology shifts, and public doubt. If you want more documentaries that break down iconic careers with clarity and depth, subscribe to the channel and stay with us as we continue exploring the stories that shape culture long after the spotlight moves on.